I'm visiting Aimee Portioli, the composer known as Grand River, in her studio. I hope to learn more about the instruments she uses, the spaces she improvises and records in, and the role these play in her musical process. Your space is really cool. I like it here.
Thank you.
It looks like a fun place to make music and also like just a fun place to live. So you've been playing instruments since you were very young. Do you have any particular memories of your life as a performer as a child?
I remember being maybe around 5 or 6, and I got these toys, instruments like toy keyboard, toy guitar, toy drum set from my parents, and I would play them.
And sometime around this time, you also began singing in choirs, right?
Yeah, I used to go with my grandparents to church sometimes, and there was this children's choir, and they would perform, and I was very much into that. I was like, I want to be part of this too. So I had a little audition, and then when I was 6, I joined the choir, and I did that from 6 till 12. It was a really nice time. And the first time for me where I was actually standing on a stage, playing with the pianist, like singing. There was a pianist, there was a band. We were recording music also. There were some CDs, and we were traveling around the country. I loved the fact to go somewhere to rehearse and then to stand on stage and to sing and to perform for other people. It was really special to me. So this I still carry with me today. And I really love choir music, and this is something that I still somehow integrate into my work today. When I was 11 or 12, I started to compose my first songs on the guitar, and then from there I moved to other instruments as well.
Previously, you worked in the radio, you worked in advertising, you've done installation work for brands.
Yes, I was living in Milan, and I worked for 3 years for a national radio station where I was doing audio engineering. And then I started to collaborate with a friend, and we opened a little sound design studio. And I did that for quite some years. When I moved to Berlin, this really was an important step for me, because I started to focus more on what is it I want to do, what is it I want to express, and not to think about what does the client want me to create for their product.
I want to talk a bit about your instrument collection, both because you have a lot of interesting instruments, but also because you've said that what's important to you about them isn't just the sounds that they make, but also the stories behind them. Can you tell a little bit about some of the instruments that you have?
The oldest one, the one I have for a longer time, is my acoustic guitar, which is the one that I used when I was playing in bands and when I was a teenager. I really love that guitar, and it's an Australian guitar. It's a Maton. I have some synthesizers that are quite old, that I brought from Italy with me here. I really love old synthesizers. I like to collect them, but I also try to keep what I really use. It took me quite some time to find the right piano. So the first 3 years I was without a piano, because I was going and trying pianos and I never really liked the sound. And after I got my cello, I got the cello and the piano back, I started to reintegrate them together with electronic parts. So that was, for me, really interesting to find a balance again between acoustic and electronic. I've always been very interested in this combining these two worlds.
You have some sort of classic, hard to obtain pieces of electronic here too. You have a boucle easel.
Yeah, I have a music easel. I had to fly to Rome because I bought it from somebody that had it there. So I was in the train with the boucle, and it's super kind of delicate. So I was scared that if I would put it on the floor that it would get all the vibrations, you know, of the train. So I was like carrying it on my lap and holding it. And then I flew it to Berlin, and it was a whole nice journey to actually be able to bring the instrument here.
Where do you listen to music? You have this great space. I'm wondering if there's a particular room that is where you do all your listening, or if you're listening all over.
I do it in my living room a lot. I really like to distance myself from composition. I tend not to go back to it immediately. I need to take some time to understand it and to reflect on it. I always call these inhaling and exhaling periods. So when I'm inhaling, I'm studying, I'm researching, and exhaling, I'm creating, I'm putting out new material. I think we are influenced by everything around us, like what we see, what we do, what we hear, unconsciously, always. Actually, very naturally, my living room became also a space where to play without recording. And I like the fact that in my living room I recreated this opportunity to be able to sit with the instrument, like with the acoustic instrument that doesn't need to be plugged into something, where I could just take my time to have a dialogue between me and the instrument without other things happening around it.
When you're improvising with instruments away from the recording, do you sometimes feel that there's a moment where something switches and now you're composing? Or is it this seamless connection between improvisation and composition?
There is a moment when I might be here in my living room playing, improvising, and then that moment comes and I'm like, I need to record this now, otherwise I forget. Then I move to the studio.
For this piece, you'll begin here but finish at Bewake Studio. Have you already decided particular instruments that you want to bring with you to Bewake?
Yeah, I decided to bring the Waldorf Blofeld. It's a very versatile instrument and small, so easy to carry. And I'm thinking to bring the flute. I use some acoustic flutes also during live performances. I like to process them through effects. I will bring some parts recorded with the piano and with the cello. That will be part of the final piece.
We're back live now at Bewake Studios. Welcome, Aimee.
Thank you, Dennis.
Great to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
It's funny to watch the video. It feels like it was so long ago somehow.
Yeah, so much happened in between.
So how is the composition going so far?
Good. Actually, I added some instruments on top. As we saw in the video, I started with the micro cue, with the Waldorf micro cue, and from there I started to build. Like I used that composition that I did there as a core, and from there I started to add instruments. So what I did, I started firstly to record the piano that we saw, and after that I recorded the cello. We saw that too. So the piece has this combination of acoustic instruments and electronic ones. I really wanted to have a balance between the two of them, and then lastly, I recorded the JX3P. So there are actually 4 sound sources. There is the micro cue, the JX3P, and then we have the cello and the piano.
One thing I was saying in the intro is like this process of making music in front of a bunch of cameras and spread out over time in different spaces is probably kind of weird. I mean, how has this process so far been different from the way you normally make a piece of music?
Well, it's totally different. I mean, I usually don't have cameras around me, and this is not my studio, so I'm using a mixer that I don't use in my studio. I brought some pedals today, which normally in my studio are part of a larger chain of effects, so it's a bit reduced. And I picked the Blofeld. So let's say the instruments are reduced, the mixer is different, and the sound is different. I mean, it's so important to know what you hear, and this is not a room where I'm used to know how it sounds like. So this is a major difference, I would say.
Yeah. How did you prepare for the session today?
So I brought some. I brought the project with me, and maybe we can see how that is, how it's built. Because what I tend to do, what I like to do, is record different stems. So I have here. I grouped it together. So we have the micro cue group, and it has 4 stems. I mean, they play all different parts, but. I mean, I could have played them all also together, record them together, but like this I can remove one part, equalize one part differently, or affect it, take it out, pitch it differently. This is why they are separate. So we could listen to just the micro cue maybe for a second.
Yeah, sure. Let's listen to what you have so far.
So this is the micro cue, and we are hearing the 4 parts together.
And there are 4 stems that are the same sound, right? It's the same patch.
It's the same patch. So actually it could be, as I said, like it could be one stem together, but it's the same patch. Also treated in the same way. So maybe we can check what I did on this. Maybe I did it because here is nothing, actually. No, they are all clean, let's say. I just compressed the group and I equalized the group, so they are not... I mean, of course, in the micro cue itself, I customized the sound, but it's something I did in the pre-recording phase.
Sure.
So they are all the same patch, let's say.
Right.
And yeah, so what's the difference? The difference is like this was the first take, and And from there I started to add and make it richer. So this is a higher melody. And here are some chords. This is, yeah, it's now actually
a bunch
not
of silence.
Yeah, there is a bunch of silence, of course, to give room to the other. So here's a chord, and then we have the higher parts also here. And together they create this. And yeah, this is, let's say, I would say this is the core around I started to record the rest and arrange the rest.
And are these clips all different lengths, or are they all the same length, so they cycle together?
Right now, actually, they are not I don't remember because it was March.
Yeah, sure.
So this is 12. They're not, actually, this is an interesting question because I like the fact that they are, I'm just gonna stop it right now.
Sure.
So I like the fact that they are not, often I keep them the same length because I want this repetition, and also when they are exact the same length, it's easier sometimes, no? Because, but in this case they're not, so this means that it will never be the same. I mean, it will at some point, maybe. I don't know the mathematics behind it, but it gives a bit of variation there, and I did that.
At any moment, it still sounds right somehow, because they're all kind of in the same world of harmony.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So this is the micro cue. Do we want to also listen to the other parts separately?
Sure. You have piano, cello, and JX3P groups too, right?
Yeah, so after this, I started to add the piano. And alone the piano sounds like this. It's, again, a group, but in this case, it's two groups. And I record the piano stereo. I think we also, we could see that in the video. So we have the left and the right, and left and right. And this is actually, I pitched this afterwards. So this is not recorded one octave up, it's pitched in the DAW. So I pitched this afterwards, and so it sounds like this. So this is the pitch, it's just up, but I pitch it here. And this, I recorded this while, so I went from my studio, because I recorded the micro cue there, I went to my living room and recorded it on top of the micro cue.
It's interesting, you get a different sound by repitching the clip than if you played it up the octave.
Yeah, it gives a bit more artificial, if I might say, but it's more bright, it's brighter, right? So, I mean, it depends on the algorithm. I kept it on purpose like this. I think I kept if I do the complex pro, it loses its brightness a bit. So I like that because it's a nice balance together with the natural one. So this is the piano, and together they sound like this. So this is piano and micro cue together. As you can see, I adapted the piano in the track delay here, -1, and still it's not perfectly, I mean, it's played by me, so it's not computer played, so I like to keep a bit of this humanized touch sometimes.
That's great.
Not always, I mean, it depends on the piece, but it could also create confusion, but in this case, I like that. So after that, I'm gonna pause that. I recorded the cello. So the cello, we saw in the video that I was sampling the cello. So actually it's a long, I just recorded a long part, and I would take that part, bring it back into the studio and put it into simpler and decide which are the takes I want to keep, how do I want to change them, how do I want to manipulate them. Do we want to see how what I did with the cello? So the cello is, so I put them into the simpler. We can see that here. You see, I just here took one note, another note, the same but maybe pitch probably. Yes, well, I transposed that, and Also, I panned them differently according to how I wanted it to, to be balanced. Shall we listen to the cello? I also put some saturate. I put a saturator, I compress it, and a resonator, EQ'd it, and there is a reverb. So of course, this is more processed than the micro Q in this case. So yeah, this is the cello. So they basically play one chord, one note all together in unison together. And yeah, we can also see how that sounds together with the rest. I created some scenes here to have the parts separately. This is also something which is for later on interesting when I would start to arrange the piece. Then I would bring it to arrangement view. But now it's also to be able to have them and listen to them together. I guess it's this one, yes. No, I will just launch it from here.
Sure.
Let's do it. So we have micro Q, piano, and the cello.
That's great. Should we do the JX3P?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then as fourth, this was actually the last one that I added, is, so alone it sounds like this. This is a quite longer clip actually. It's quite long. And it changes a lot, so it gives again this movement to the piece and of evolution. And together, do we want to hear all the four parts together?
It's up to you.
Okay. So these are the four. I mean, it's four sound sources, but of course they are layered in many different. For example, the JX3P are two groups, and one group has two stems, and the other one has three stems. So in total, it's like five layers of JX3P. So I like to layer things, and I mean, I prefer to have more and then take it out afterwards if I see it doesn't fit the piece in when I'm arranging at some point, yeah.
So the kind of heart of the thing is the Waldorf micro-Q. This plays like a big role in what you're doing. We have a clip of you playing with the micro-Q in your studio at home. Maybe we should take a look at that clip. So can you talk a little bit about what's interesting about this instrument for you?
Well, the micro-Q, actually, the one that we see in the video, I really like that. I had in the past, I had the keyboard version, and it broke, and I liked it so much, and I was so used to use it that I bought I think it wasn't easy, I don't remember, but I bought the rack version. Maybe, I don't remember if it was a space decision, or maybe I couldn't find the keyboard version. So I like this instrument because it's quite versatile. It has this harshness, it's a bit fat, a bit digital sounding, and I like that because it's nice. I mean, in this piece, but I do that often. I like to combine it with other timbres that are completely different. Like the piano has another timbre completely, the cello, and I mean, so I like this. How can I say, balance, and these two extremes coming together and somehow mixing them together. So yes, I'm a big fan of that instrument, and I like it. You can do many things with it. You can personalize sounds.
That sound is such a nice sound. It's such a great kind of bed for the whole track.
Yes, I like it. Yeah. True.
So we're using this phrase, composing by playing, to talk about your musical approach. What do those words mean to you? Like, how would you describe this process?
To compose by playing. It means to me that probably I compose while I am experimenting, while I'm just playing, and when it's me being with the instrument. And this is also something that happens to me is when for example, I'm in my living room, which is a space where I don't have the computer, where I don't record, unless I bring it there and I want to, as I did, but it's not there all the time. So it's more a moment for me to be intimate with the instrument, and until I reach a moment where I feel that particular emotion and that click that makes me want to record what I just did. So I guess that is the moment where I compose while I'm playing. So I'm then playing, and suddenly I feel the need maybe to record that. Same goes when I already have something. Like in this case, I had the micro cue, and I went with the micro cue to my living room to record the piano, and then I would just improvise on top, or maybe have already a kind of idea of what do I want to add, but I would record different things until I feel that is the right thing to add, you know. So I think, I mean, I would compose by trying. I don't think about it maybe too much beforehand, and just do it until I feel there is an emotion to it that I somehow want to record and keep.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of being intimate with one instrument, you run a label also called One Instrument.
Yes.
And you talk about, I mean, it's interesting to see how much mileage you get out of one sound here by building layer upon layer upon layer of an additional sound. True. Limitation is a big part of your practice. Restricting yourself to one, you know, in this case, like 4 instruments, but using them in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Let's switch to talking a little bit about timbre. So you're really interested in this idea of sounds that complement each other. Can you say something about your approach to thinking about complementary sounds?
Yeah, so as I said before, so the Blofeld has a quite harsh sound, very present, very clear, knitted sound, and the cello is another planet, and I like this. These two worlds combining, so to have the acoustic element combined with electronic, or more in this case a very digital kind of sound, so it's another kind of timbre. So I like these two different kind of timbres. Today I brought flutes with me, which are here in front of me, and I brought them because my idea is to record both of them on top of the cello. So I thought, because the cello has this very warm, slow, I don't know, I'm just trying to get some adjectives here to define how it sounds, but it's kind of airy, granular, kind of grainy sound which the cello has, and that made me think of making it even more rich by adding a flute on top, plus wooden flutes. Both are wooden. They also have this roundness to the sound that maybe other flutes don't have, of other materials. So yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Totally,
so
yeah.
it's a kind of, I like to play with timbre, yes, absolutely, and I also mix all the time while I compose, while I record, and this also, I do that to keep a kind of balance composition, like sound-wise, timbre-wise. So
yeah. Mixing as part of the process, not a separate process.
No, I mean, of course I do it also at the end. Yeah. But no, I cannot imagine composing without mixing well, because I mean, mixing is part of the composition. It's part of how imagine these, now it's here not visible, but all these parts together without having an EQ or without having any treatment, I don't think it would never sound like it sounds now. So it's also the fact that I like to multi-layer. I need to make room for other things, so I need to work with the EQ a lot. Otherwise, it sounds too. There are too many frequencies in the same range, so I really need to. Yeah, so I need to to mix while composing, absolutely.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the sometimes really dramatic EQ curves that you have.
Yes, they are quite dramatic,
great.
but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think often musicians are afraid to make these kind of radical changes.
yeah, I'm not, I just...
You just do it.
I try, and until I get what I want it to sound like, so I just, yeah, I take it up. I mean, maybe even bringing noise up, but I like that sometimes it's sounding a bit dirty and a bit noisy, so I don't want everything to sound perfectly clean.
Yeah.
Especially in flutes or cellos or, yeah.
You've got these flutes sitting here. I want to hear them. Are you ready to do some flute recordings?
Sure.
Great.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So I just
Great.
did some different takes. This way.
And so what happens now? The idea is you were saying before you want to do something similar to what you did with the cello, which is to use them as samples in simplers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I did with the cello, I was just, I recorded this long piece. We saw that long recording. Now I was also, close to being able to record different clips here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, yes. 5 different clips, and my idea is to keep 3 because it's 3 different notes. So 2 with the brown flute and 1 with the black one, and to have a chord out of there. So I would need to put them in 3 different simplers, which would also give me the possibility to play them with the MIDI keyboard. I might even actually play a chord already, so it might be more than 1 note per simpler. So let's see. Okay, this we don't need anymore.
Right.
So I have 3 simplers here. I don't remember exactly, but I think the first one. So let's see. So this is the natural one because I'm playing the middle C.
Yep.
It's a bit low. Let's see. I would change the attack, make it more smooth. Let's see, maybe I can do that better. Yeah.
So you adjusted the attack on the simpler to soften the entrance of the sound.
Yes.
Cool.
And of course, it would be a chord. So this is very nice to play with, right? So let's see, I would create a clip because basically what I want to do after this is creating MIDI clips playing from the simpler so that they can just go and having my hands free to run them through these pedal chains. So I would not be able to do that while playing, so I need to the computer to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So I would like to try this. Then we will see if the...
And you know already how long you want these notes to be?
Actually not,
Okay.
but I would want the clip to be the same length as the cello. Let's see, actually I don't know how long it should be. I think longer, but let's just play it. I should solo this and this. Yes, it stops, so let's make it longer. It's also quite loud now. I mean, it's 2, and I created them here, so the velocity is at its maximum. And I will change. It's even too long. Maybe it's long here. Let's see. Okay, and then I would go to the second one. I have to hear what it was. Let's do it like this. Yes, so this is the other one. I would do the same as before.
And the goal really is to try to match the flute notes with the cello notes, so
Yeah,
that they're
this was the idea, to have them playing in unison all together. Exactly, so I would again keep the same length. And let's see how that sounds together with this. I'm going to do the third already, which I think is this one. Exactly. And we can try.
So you do the same process now of extending the notes out.
For
right?
all 3. The first one is playing a chord. Let's see if that sounds nice. More or less, I think it's quite okay. I group them now together. It's easier. I would compress them a bit.
You have this particular compressor
I'm
preset.
a big fan. No,
that you like.
It's, I don't know, I always go with the basic peak compressor.
It's great.
Actually, this is the one that in the previous version until 11 was when you would double click here, it would appear. So I think it's just because of that. So I got so used to it that I was, you know, when it started to be into folds, I was like, where is it? So now I'm sticking with the same. I would compress a bit. Let's see how the and EQ it. It's a bit longer, but it's okay because I will anyway run it through. Okay, so now I have them here. In order to run them through the chains, I have to send them out of the audio card and back into the mixer. So this is what I wanted to do next. So they are both, there's 2 chains, so they have 2 different levels. And I will try to balance them. I already set them up because we don't have time to run through all the, so
Sure.
they are, this is this is a reverb right now and a delay. This is a kind of distortion, and this is a harmonizer. So let's see how that goes. I have to think for a second. I would first just have it audio, also to have it clean. So in that case, I would just resample it. Okay. Again, I would change the length because I want it to be the same as the cello. This I would not need anymore, so it should work here. Exactly. And now I would run it through the mixer. Okay. Audio to external out, and then we have this. Shall we hear this alone? Maybe it makes sense to hear like how the sound changes without having it all together.
Sure.
What do you think? So Let's see. So now it's clean, I'm not adding anything, so this is just the stereo channel of the same recording. It's a bit harsh here, maybe I could fade it out. Well, let's hear how it goes with the effects. You can hear it also all dry. It makes it sound wider and airier.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore that the one ends early.
Absolutely.
That because it's now in this big space.
Exactly. So yeah, I like it. I like to run parts through. I mean, in the end, it changes so much, and it gives an extra touch to it. So I would record this in this stem. Let's see. Okay, I would keep 2 because I changed something. So yes, so length 12 was 6 before. That's
So 2 copies with some slight adjustments in the middle. Is that the idea? Yeah.
And this we don't need anymore. That's deactivated. I mean, otherwise I get a bit confused. So let's hear how this sounds together with the rest. Has a long tail there. So yes, this is how I would proceed and experiment with the flutes.
That's great.
I also love to put flutes through a granulator. It's very interesting too. Today I just on both on the cello and flutes I run it through the simpler, but it's also something I do. And that I really like.
But it's already such a rich sound because of what's happening with the pedals. That's great.
So I would name this, otherwise I would not remember. So these are flutes. Flutes through chain. All right, so I would remember what is there.
And then the next thing you wanted to do was talk a little bit about the Blofeld, right?
Yeah, so I brought the Blofeld today. This is another instrument I wanted to record on top. I was choosing some patches, has many patches, and customizing them a bit, and I bumped into 2 that I really like, and they give a kind of rhythm to the piece. So this is I will not run them through these 2 chains because as they are rhythmic kind of, it would confuse it too much. So I would rather keep them dry and clean in order to keep things a bit better on the grid. So yeah, in order to do that, I need to, let's see, change the buffer size. So I will play them using their internal arpeggiator. And so I would not use the arpeggiator of live. So I need to change the clock of that, the BPM, and also I would trigger the arpeggiator with a clip here. Otherwise I would have to play it exactly, and most certainly would maybe probably go out of the grid. When you use hardware instruments, it's, I mean, normal to have to fix that afterwards. It's not possible that everything is, of course, set. So, yeah.
So you create a MIDI track then, and then...
To record this,
Yeah.
I would create an external instrument.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Track right here.
Cool.
Let's see. Okay. There it goes. You see? So this is the first sound that I selected. It's again a bit of a flute sound, but while the arpeggiator will go, it will be cut, so it will sound very fast. So without arpeggiator, it sounds, well, that's really loud. Let's see, it sounds...
Yeah, still very flute-like.
Yes. And, okay, let me check if everything is... Yeah, so tempo set to 1/8. Let's see how it sounds with the arpeggiator. It's like this. There it goes. And this is actually what I wanted to record, so it gives off a bit of rhythm.
And the arpeggiator pattern is one that you created yourself?
Actually, no.
It's
This is something from here that I tested and I liked. I will change while recording. So now it's on hold, that's why it keeps going. This also gives me then the possibility to change the EQ afterwards. So if while recording I might change some parameters here or on the mixer. So again, it's another method of having my hands free.
So you'll set it up to play with a MIDI note, but then you'll recapture as audio? Is that the idea?
At the end, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But what is important, I cannot keep my hands on the MIDI keyboard while, so I will, so now I have to turn it off. It might even work like this if I hold it, so I want, these were the ones. Let's make them also like this.
So again, you want this clip to be as long as the flute and cello clips?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I could also make it shorter, but let's just stay with the same.
Sure.
Let's see. If I don't do a hold, how this sounds. With, and something that I noticed is I would prefer to record this on top of the piece without the micro cue and the cello. So I would create it in a more empty part, which is this part. So it's, sorry, just the piano and the JX3P, so there is no micro cue. No, there's a micro, there is no cello, so I would keep this part probably afterwards when I will be arranging in another moment. I mean, maybe in the middle or at the end. So let's see how that sounds.
Sounds pretty good.
Maybe I'll do this. But yeah, when it goes out, when it goes back, so I will just activate. But in the end, I can also record it like this, and then I will just keep the same length, so I think it will be fine. Let's record this again, so I would create an audio track. I would say audio from 25, let's see where it is, here. Actually, I can do it like this. Should work. And I would play with the resonance. Okay, there it is. I added some resonance and I added some high frequencies, so let's see.
While it was recording, so the sound changes.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
Let's see how it sounds. Let's see if yeah, that's mostly the idea. And it's, I mean, a sound like this run through these chains or even with reverb with delay, it would create too much confusion. So it's completely dry. It's a blow.
But there's a richness to the sound already. It feels like it doesn't need much more. You know?
Yeah, it's nice. Again, as with the micro cue, I mean, both Waldorf instruments are playing very dry patches. So that's really nice when you get the sound like how it is and like it how it is. I would EQ this a bit. I mean, cut this away and compress it a bit. Yeah, this is what I had in mind. So
It's great.
thank you. And then I wanted to record another patch if we still have time for that.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
I would do, so I can keep the same track here because it's the same instrument. I wrote it down here, so I have to change the bank. And
I like the idea that you really commit this stuff to audio and then move on to a different sound. It's good. You can't, because then you can't go back and change things later. It's great.
yeah, true. I mean, it has pros and cons, but okay. I have to change this manually. Yes. And take out the effects. I want it dry again. It's again quite rhythmic sound. There it goes.
Sort of like a hi-hat.
Yeah, and sound like this, I would also maybe treat it more afterwards with an EQ or maybe even pitch it differently. Try this.
So you do the same process then, create long notes?
I would create this. I mean, would be, let's see how that sounds. Then it goes out. So this is the same. Also, I mean, we are not using it's not clocked. So we are using the clock of the instrument separately. Yeah, I will do the same as I did before. I will create another audio track. And say, take the audio from here. No.
From track 35?
Yeah, so I have to audio from, in the end when it's many, it can be confusing.
It's a lot of tracks.
Yes. Let's record this, and I wanted to, while recording, change again some EQ, and let's see how that sounds. Okay, and then it goes out, and let's see. Let's see how it sounds while pitched down. Yeah.
Pitching down that last sound.
Yes. Actually, I might even make it shorter, this one. So I have a feeling it slightly goes out. Let's see until here. Let's put the buffer size back up. Let's do that when it's not playing, otherwise we hear weird sound. All right. I could even group, I mean, they're both quite rhythmic. I would group them together, compress them, EQ them. But you get this movement because I was changing the frequencies, and here I changed some resonance again.
One thing that was interesting when you recorded the Blofeld stuff, you talked about how you wanted it to be layered with not with the full texture, but only with some of the other parts. You already have an idea in your head about form, about the structure of the composition, right?
I do have an idea a bit. I mean, I would love to get the piece started with the piano. I actually created just a little bit here by naming these scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But in this phase, I would still be adding things and deciding that later on. Of course, when the moment comes that I say, okay, I think I have enough elements and I can really start giving this piece a form, I would then create different scenes like I have here. So this is the first scene. It's only piano, then the micro cue comes in. Third scene has, we didn't see this actually, this is another sound that I recorded with the micro cue but with another patch. And it goes like this. It's also micro cue. This could be a moment when things change. I mean, so I have different possibilities here to continue, and here are also the flutes. So when I would give it a proper form, I would eventually move everything to arrangement view.
Right.
Yeah.
You've talked about the importance of surprising yourself in the process. You had a pretty good idea of what you wanted to do today, but were there things that surprised you as you were working with this setup?
Yeah, I mean, this is always different. I mean, how things are set up here. So actually the tail, for example, of the flutes is really nice, and it doesn't sound always the same. Same goes with the delay. I mean, the reverb is more steady, but I mean, I changed some parameters before, so it sounded different, and also the quantity that I would give of the channel of the aux that runs through it. It depends on so many different factors, so it never sounds the same in the end, and I like that also because it surprises me, and I can have room for changes and for more experimentation. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think we're getting close to getting some questions from the audience. Should we take some of these now?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So here's a question directly for you. Have you often worked in other locations than your studio, perhaps when you've been collaborating with others? And if so, how do you like to prepare?
Honestly, yeah, well, mostly I work from my studio, and I'm doing some collaboration. I did collaborations, of course, but not strictly in another place, so maybe everyone from their own studio. It happened that I recorded some instruments in other places, but then I would take that material home back to my studio. I had different studios in my life in different places. I used also to share a studio with another person, so it would be other equipment, and also it happened that we would jam together or play together. So there were different environments, and yeah, today I'm in another studio.
Exactly, yeah. It feels sort of like a perfect question for this setup.
Yeah, it is.
As does the next one. Do you ever revisit pieces you started years or months ago and then add to them? I mean, it's essentially what you did just now.
Yes.
But is this like, have you done this in other contexts?
I do, actually. I do. I do that sometimes. It happens that I might create a piece and that I get stuck, that I don't know how to continue with it, and I just let it rest. And then maybe after 6 months, 10 months, a year, I might get back to it and change it or work again on it. So yeah, it happens. It happens not so often, but it does. And sometimes very nice and interesting things come out of it, because you see things from another perspective. Time goes by, you get new ideas, new things you wanted maybe to work on that in that moment you we're not able to see. So, yes.
Here's another question. How do you solve the tuning problems between an acoustic piano and electric instruments?
So between the piano, I try to keep my piano tuned. So there is someone that comes. Actually, I need to. I was thinking about this the other day that I should call the piano tuner again. But of course, it detunes in time. So the parts that are here now, I didn't touch the tuning of it. I mean, if I change the pitch, it's not because it was detuned, but because I wanted it to be. I mean, we saw that before, so I pitched it up. But I did not do that because I needed to adjust the tuning, because it's slightly detuned, and I know that, so that's why I need the piano tuner to come. But if there is another, let's say another instrument that is detuned, because it happens, so I would just take the audio. Let's see, I could just take one here and work with. So I mean, these are the percentages. So I would work with this, and I often do this by ear, and or use a tuner. I mean, I would try to already record tuned as much as possible. I really don't like detuned things much, so I really love when things are tuned quite.
I think it's sort of built into your workflow, though, that you're playing acoustic instruments like a cello that doesn't have specific tunings. It's sort of part of what happens.
Yes. Yeah. It does.
Right. One more question: do you keep all the effects used when composing in the final mixing stage, or do you turn some of them off?
I turn some of them off. It depends on what I'm. Sometimes maybe while I'm composing, I tend to add because it feels right in that moment, but then in the end it feels too much. So I would take them out, or maybe use them only in some particular moments, or I would work with automations. I do that a lot. So increase the quantity of that particular effect, or reduce it because it's too much. So, yeah. I guess that answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, watching the things that you baked into the audio clips by changing the sounds. It makes sense that you would use automation to make changes.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, now we did not do that, but when I'm in the arrangement view and I'm further in the piece, working in the piece, there is a lot of automations going on.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's become clear that, like, the evolution of a sound is an important thing for what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. How do you organize your scenes and clips as you're recording and preparing before arrangement?
Well, actually, I think we can see that here more or less, because I would try to name them. In the past, I was not really naming my stems much.
Yeah, I noticed you took the names out of your clips. It's interesting.
Here, yeah, I don't. Otherwise, it looks so messy. Like I like to. I mean, I think this is enough writing actually. So yeah, I don't. I mean, they're only here because this is the MIDI clip that triggered the micro cue, and this is because in case I want to re-record this with another instrument, I know what it is. But so I would write down the instrument, and that's it mostly. I would also name the groups. So this is the group of the so this is simpler cello groups. So I would name the groups. I would name the tracks, and now I numbered the scenes, and this is because I wanted to record the Blofeld here, and this is everything going together. These are the parts singularly. So I would name the scenes and just the tracks and the groups, but mostly that's it.
Is a scene here representing something that you hear as like a formal section in the music?
Yes. Well, one I consider that. Maybe I'm not sure, because I will be sure when I move it to arrangement and when I listen to it different times and have a better perspective of the arrangement. But one in is a bit of intro, let's say. I was imagining it to be.
How much time do you invest on one track, and how do you know when a track is ready?
Okay. Well, sometimes I work on a track a lot. I cannot even quantify, because I don't know, and I would maybe work on it days and then listen to it days and weeks and then go back to it, work on it again, listen to it again, change something again. So it might take months, and other times it's just a day. It depends. And there is no right or wrong, there is no good or bad in this, but it doesn't mean that the pieces that take longer are better than the pieces that are just done quicker. Actually, I mean, the longer, maybe sometimes I was thinking, the longer I work on it, the more maybe I'm changing it, but sometimes maybe that's needed. Even I go back after the long time and then I just radically change it, and maybe that was what wasn't meant to be. And I think I know that it's finished when I like it, but also I would export it, listen to it, distance from it, and until I am really sure. I really need to listen to it for an amount of time, some weeks, and then if I still like how it is, and I would maybe fix the mixing a bit, but yeah, then usually I would know.
You just know, you just feel it.
I just feel it, yeah.
Right.
I mean, maybe after years I'm not sure about it because we change, so, you know, but if I now listen back to pieces that I made 5 years ago, 4 years, I would say, this I would have done differently, but I guess that's for everyone.
Do you ever go back then and change them, or do you say it's done?
No, I mean, unless they're already released, I cannot do anything about it, but when they're in my, still just as a draft in my computer, and I would want to work on that particular piece, and I want to finish it, then I would change it, yes, sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for how to start collaboration with other people?
How to start? Well, I don't know. I guess there are many ways to start a collaboration. Maybe first I would talk. I mean, if I think about the collaborations I'm doing in this particular period, well, we would talk about it first, like what do you want to do, why, and yeah, and then, I mean, it's so different. I don't think there is a rule, but I mean, both parts really need to want that and also to be open to it, because I mean, there are people also very proud of what they do, of their own material, and I mean, and then it might feel weird when the other collaborator changes it so much, and so I think there needs to be a balance in the end between the two parts.
Are you collaborating with people in other disciplines, filmmakers or visual artists, dancers?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was now talking about, but with any form of art, of course, I mean, there need to be an understanding. And
sure. Yeah. Okay, so the next question, do you think asking people around you about the piece would help? If so, do you choose people who have the same taste? I like this question.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes, I mean, I do ask sometimes, but when I'm really sure that I like it, I would just ask out of curiosity. But then if a lot of people start saying, no, this is really, I don't like it because this, I would question myself. I mean, I'm quite open for other people's ideas, of course. What was the question? So if this would help? It might help, yes. But also I think it's important to keep your own identity, because I mean, everything is so subjective. I might ask you and you might give me a feedback. I might ask somebody else and they might give another feedback, and I'm like, wow, what do I do now? Because these opinions can be so different. It's so subjective. So in the end, it might help, yes, but there has to be a limit. And also, I think you need to be, I don't know, you need to know and be also a bit certain about what's the sound that you want to express. So yeah, there is definitely you need to have a boundary in getting feedback from others too.
Yeah, this question, the second part of the question was also kind of interesting. This one about, are you looking for people to critique your music who have the same taste, or people who are radically different?
I think I would not ask, of course, people with the same taste all the time. Of course, maybe they can understand it a bit more, but yeah, it's interesting to know, of course, opinions also of people that listen to completely and compose a completely other genre, because they might see and notice things that I would not. So I think it's also interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay, I think that's it for the questions. I mean, I just want to sort of step back for a second. We listen to the music a lot. I'm curious now, reflecting on what you've done and the things that you've added today, how close would you say you are to being finished?
I think, well, you mean of the final piece, or before I would move to the arrangement view? What do you mean?
I would
And give it
say,
a structure.
Yeah, maybe like before you said, no, this piece is finished. I mean, yeah, obviously it's right now it exists in
I'm
this.
still in the session view, so I
Yeah.
would maybe add something else.
More parts.
I would add another part or another 2 parts, and then I would move to arrangement view, try to give it a structure. After that, listen to it and export it, and then, but often, you know, when you move it to arrangement, you notice, wow, something is missing, and I wasn't
Yeah, of
noticing, or
course.
this is too much, and you want to take things out. And also, I'm working with automations a lot in the arrangement view, so this also changes it a lot. So I would say, I would work on it a bit more, but yeah, I think it's pretty. I'm not able to quantify because I don't know, but it's maybe 65% finished, 70% more or less.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. You seem to know that you wanted to add 1 or 2 more parts. Is it about? Do you have specific sounds in mind, or is it just that you know that's about the density that you want?
I don't have specific sounds in mind yet, but I would because I mean. It drives a bit around the micro cue, and I like this part where we record the blow file that is different. So maybe I would create another part that is again different, so that I have more different parts to play with when I work with the arrangement view. So in the arrangement view, so I would add something different. Maybe work also with I don't know. I need to experiment. I cannot say yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes it feels like you have a very clear sense of the next step, and sometimes it's more about playing, composing by playing.
Absolutely.
Right. When we met in March, you were talking a lot about this idea about trying to convey emotion, about the importance of communication. Can you talk a bit more about what that meant? I think it wasn't in the video that we saw, but we talked about this together.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
This is a very hard question.
You can answer it in your own way.
I mean, what I said before, when I'm recording, and when you get to that click, and then you say yes. Sorry, when you're playing, and I get to that particular click that I feel. Now I want to record this. That happens because so the sound that is coming out, the melody or whatever is part of that particular piece, gives me a kind of emotion. So it's like a dialogue with myself, you know, because I created, but it bounces back to me. So when I get this bouncing back and it says something to me, then the circle is rounded, and it means, yes, now I want to record. Now it said something. And of course, other people, they might have another emotion, because of course we all perceive things differently, but when it gives me an emotion, I also hope it does to somebody else, and it can be any kind of emotion, but it's still, I mean, I hope it says something, and this is it says something to me, so that's, let's say, the trigger for me to record and to continue the piece. So this is a bit at the core of my way of composing. And
I love this idea about like the dialogue with yourself and it bouncing off. So it's not like you're going into it saying, this is a track about sunrises. It's more, you start vague, and then the piece tells you what it is.
In this case, yes. I mean, of course, there are also pieces where I follow more a concept when I'm creating something for an installation, or when there is a concept that I need to follow. So, I mean, here there is not a particular concept. This is more driven by my emotion and the melody that I want to, that I started with and where I want to work around. But in that way, yes, I would find that dialogue with myself, found that bouncing back to myself. But even if there is a concept in the end that I'm working on, or if I'm working on installation or a piece for that is combined with other art forms, of course, in that case, I would work more towards something because it's already there. So there is a brief, there is something more specific. But still, I would need to have that emotion, because if it's not there, I'm unable to work on it like thoroughly. I cannot. So this is something that always has to be there, and it has to, be present for me. Yeah.
That's great. Another thing that we talked about when we were in the studio that I kind of wanted to pick up on again was you mentioned that part of the reason that you moved to Berlin was to try to figure out what it was that you wanted to express. Have you figured it out?
Yes, I figured it out. I mean, I figured it out now, but things change, so who knows how things evolve. And I'm curious. Sometimes I think about like, how will the music be in the future? What will I be making? And that's so exciting because so much can be done. But yes, definitely when I moved to Berlin, I started more to research my own sound and wanting to develop it more. And it definitely changed me.
What is this process of researching your own sound? Is it just listening back to your old material and thinking about like things that were continuous?
I think when I think back, I mean, I was researching that when I moved here, I was composing a lot, like way more than now. I was composing every day for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I was just composing by playing, and without any specific idea. Like I wasn't thinking, oh, this needs to be part of that record, this needs to be part of that. So I was very free. I was composing in a very free way, and I was researching. I was studying different instruments, trying to find a sound that really communicated something to me. And of course, that took time. Before I was playing other things, and it takes time to develop, I think, your sound and to understand what you want to express. It definitely takes time.
You said before it's exciting to think about what the future might bring. Do you have an idea of, it's sort of a strange question, like what will your music sound like in 5 years?
I don't know.
But do you have some feeling of a place you want to go that you haven't gone yet?
Very interesting question, definitely. Of course, there are things that I would like to explore more. I would like to work more with strings, for example. And I did it already sometimes in the past with a good friend, a violinist, and maybe, I would love to work more with strings. But many other things will come to mind, and that I'm not seeing right now, because things will just evolve and happen. So I don't know. I don't know. We will see. Yes.
We'll see where it goes. I don't have more questions for you. I feel like we could talk for 5 more hours, but we're starting to run out of time. So I want to thank you for being so gracious with your time. I mean, we put you under this sort of amazing pressure, like work in a space that's not your own, with gear that's only partly your own, and then talk through it while you're doing it. But I feel like I really have learned so much, not just about your music, but about how to work in general. Like, this has been a really enlightening experience for me.
Thank you. Well, for me, thank you so much for giving me the space to share it. It's been so much fun. I mean, not only today, but the whole process that brought us here today, and the recording from the beginning. So it has been, a big pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.